let's just start off this video on a good note, because I'm just gonna tell you right now, this video ain't gonna be a happy one. So let's start it off with something happy though. My friend got me the most amazing freaking shirt ever. Tell me.
I regret nothing.
And yes, I'm obsessed with this skirt that I had last time too. It's so freaking cute. It just works with everything. Well, for me anyways, because I wear the randomest stuff. So as you can see from the title, this is going to be the first of 4 Gilmore Girl revival rants. Because it's gonna be a rant. I took notes. Lots. I was like, oh yeah, I can totally make just one video. Not gonna happen. Although it only deserves one video. And this is why I haven't filmed it yet, because look how long ago I filmed the quiz where I was so excited and so ready for this freaking revival. It just made me really sad. I was very disappointed. I don't know how I felt about it. I watched it all once in like 2 days because I was like, I gotta watch it. And then I was like, I couldn't. It's been over a month now and I'm like, I just couldn't watch it again. I'm like, but I have to talk about it because obviously I'm a big fan. So I'm forcing myself to rewatch it for you, purely you, because in my heart I have no desire to watch this again, which makes me really, really sad. So we're gonna start with the first episode. It's split into 4 episodes and it's the seasons. And it starts out with winter, it's snowing, everything's happy. I'm like, okay. Oh, and also this will contain spoilers, this and all the other ones. So spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Now either you have left and then come back or you're still here. So let's talk about the first episode called Winter. Are we happy to see everybody back together again? Yes, we are. Did they do a great job writing it? No, they did not. So just a little bit of a backstory. The original creator and writer, Amy Sherman Palladino, her and her husband were like in charge of the whole show, and they only did like 6 out of the 7 seasons because there was a lot of contract issues between them. And then at the time, I guess like the CW was becoming a thing. It used to be UPN, turned into CW, contract issues, such and such. They left. Last season was done without them, without any of like their stuff. And so I didn't know this going in, but she completely like disregarded that last season. It was almost like it didn't happen, which made me really sad because like the whole, and I didn't realize this until afterward. Well, no, halfway through. Because at the end of the show, you see Rory, she graduated from Yale, and she was off to conquer the world. You know, she was gonna travel to Europe or something, I can't even remember, and she had like jobs lined up and whatever. Fast forward, this show is set 10 years later, she's 32, so the show starts off. I didn't notice this until like the second, in between the second episode and third episode. They didn't do the intro, like the intro song. It is so freaking, what's the word? It's so like, to the show. Like, you know it's coming. And I didn't realize it through the first episode just because I was so immersed and I was so like, oh my God, it's back and whatever. Second one happens and I start feeling it like 5 minutes in and I'm like, huh. And then it didn't actually click until halfway through because I forget because, you know, things are happening. They didn't choose to do the song, which was really, really weird. And I still have no answer as to why. And it was like, I love that song. Like, it was the perfect song for that show. And it was just so like heartbreaking that they didn't have it. And that was like literally like the first thing I felt from the episode. So then starts out and the first couple lines are between Lorelai and Rory. Very like to each other. Like, it's just almost like they're bringing them back and you're just so excited. And then they say, you know, that they're winded and that it's felt like years since they've done this, and that I just felt like it was a nod to us because it's been years for us too. So they did do cute little things like that that were very nostalgic and were very good for us, and I love that. They start talking about London and it makes you feel like, ooh, London, Rory has a job in London. Like, what is she doing? And you're just wondering and wondering, like, what does Rory do now? Because we don't know. It's 10 years later. It could be anything. They're walking around town and then Miss Patty talks and I'm like, Miss Patty? That does not look like Miss Patty. I literally thought that it was a different actress because she was so skinny and she looked sick. I'm sorry. Like, I loved the actress who played Miss Patty. You find out later, we don't find out later, I find out because I get obsessive, I look into it. The actress who played her apparently had a lot of issues with like her weight and stuff, and she lost a lot of weight. But I mean, like, you go from this to this, I didn't recognize her, and it was just so sad because like she was just a staple of the town too. Like, she was there all the time, and I always thought she looked beautiful and healthy, and obviously to each their own, but it just made me sad because I didn't recognize her. I mean, there was parts later on where she talks and I hear the voice and I was like, I'm looking for her and I don't see her. But obviously, I mean, if she's healthy now, that's all that matters. Oh, and then Lane gets introduced and I was like, yay, Lane! I was like, yay! Because I love Lane. I was always so heartbroken about what they did to her character in the original series. She had so much going for her and it just felt like they cast her aside. I don't understand why. There was a lot of characters I just felt like they did that too. You know, and obviously this is always gonna be my opinion, but it was like she was so obsessed with music and they were like, okay, we're gonna go the drummer route. Okay, fine, you wanna be a musician. But she knew so much that I always felt like she was gonna be a DJ or a producer or something. And then they had her marry this guy who had nothing going on in his life. She got pregnant, they had kids, they got married, and I still hope that something would happen for them in this series. And it didn't. She was such a big part, you know, of the show, obviously. And then the way that they just like cast her aside and were like, yeah, you know, who cares if you're really smart and really pretty and your mom wanted all these things for you. You're just gonna marry some dude, have twins, and stay at home. I don't know. I just felt like she was gonna go places and they just didn't do that with her character. Gave you a foreshadowing of what we were gonna see like later on in the episode. Which, by the way, every episode is 45 minutes long and I was so excited for it. So pumped for it. Yeah. Kirk gets introduced, and Kirk was always such a really interesting character, and I'm so happy he stayed. Every single time he's on set, he's such a funny person, and him and his, last time I heard it was his girlfriend. I don't know if they ever got married in the show. They didn't want them to have kids, so the town bought them a pig. If you watch the show, you'll understand why that's funny, and it works. And then Luke gets introduced, and he gets introduced as super proud Luke. In the next like 3 scenes, it's like super proud Luke, because you find out that Rory wrote a really big piece in the New Yorker. Still, I'm like, wow, really big piece in the New Yorker. Like, what are you doing with your life? Because they still haven't told you. Luke is very proud, which made me very happy because it's more of like a dad figure type of thing. He has all of her pieces at home and they're on the menu, and it's just very cool and very happy. You know, they talk about Rory not really having a home now. She gave up her apartment, which I didn't think about until afterwards when I was reading a comment and it said, well, what happened to her money? Which is true, because her grandparents are very rich. She had a trust at one point. No matter what, they would lend her money. I know she wouldn't ask for it, but I'm like, what the hell happened to all your money? Did you really like just spend it all? Like, I don't know. Then you find out she has a boyfriend. His name is Paul. Paul is very forgettable, and it's just like, it's so sad. I know that they try to make it funny, but it's not very funny. It's kind of like funny sad. It was funny at first, but it's not funny if it keeps happening over and over. So she has this boyfriend that she's been dating for like 2 years who no one remembers. He had full-on things with Luke, like they went out fishing and stuff, and he cannot remember him. No one can remember him, and she can't even remember to break up with him. So as I'm talking, think about the negative things I'm currently saying about Rory, which is just like, why are they making her character like this? Taylor is introduced. Taylor still has a really great character. They all seem to get into their characters very well. I do have to say that. It really did feel almost like no time had passed, I guess. They were all very quick to get back into the roles. Taylor looks like he hasn't aged a day. He looks really good. Michelle gets introduced. Still as funny as always. Still the same exact character, which is just very like, and I love it. I don't know, there's just something about his character that I just love, because he was always just very like, I don't care. But he loved Lorelai and Suki, and it was just like a very like sibling type relationship, which I really loved. They have him married and they have him be openly gay now, which was always like up in the air. The previous show was very good about not getting into anything like that. It wasn't like a very political show. It wasn't about anything. It was just a very lighthearted show about a mother and a daughter, and that's what made me love the show so much. It just helped you escape. So then they introduced this, which I'm like, okay, I have no problem with it. I think it's funny, and it's perfect because like his husband wants a kid and he's not kid friendly. He's not people friendly at all, which I think was a really good way to write that. It was the first in scene, and then when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder how they're gonna put in like Melissa McCarthy, who is Suki, because I knew that in real life, even before the show, that she had a lot of other scheduling issues with what she was filming with movies and stuff, and I was like, oh, I know she's only gonna be in a little bit, right? And then Michelle starts saying that Suki abandoned them, that she went on a sabbatical. She was only supposed to be gone 6 months, and now she's been gone a year. This breaks my heart, because if you've watched the original show, it was like their dream to open the inn. The whole thing was about them like opening an inn together, you know, they're best friends, and all of a sudden she's gone. Like, I felt like they could have written her out in a different way. Why couldn't she have just been like traveling? You know, why couldn't she have done anything other than leave them? That did not seem in her character. She was there for Lorelai. Anything she needed with anything in her life, Suki was there. Suki was her best friend. And for them to say like, oh, she needed time away, and the way Michelle said it was, you know, that she's up in a cabin and she just needed to get away so she didn't have to shave her legs. It was so funny. They try to implement funny things, but I'm kind of like, you can't hide it from the fans. Like, I don't appreciate that, you know? It just made me sad. I really, really love her character. I love their dynamic together, but I understood real life stuff, but you could have written it in better. They go and meet Emily, and I absolutely adore this actress. I think she's phenomenal, and she's so funny, and she's so good at her character, and you watch her in interviews and it's just so funny. But she looks a lot smaller, like her frame looks smaller. I know she's older, but she aged so well. She's thinner, but she just looks smaller. It's odd. And this is like one of the parts that starts and made me feel like this is the part, other than Suki, but that I didn't feel until afterwards. This next scene I like felt immediately. They walk in and you see it in the previews. There's a giant, like, I don't know, 10-foot tall painting of Richard. Obviously because the actor who played Richard, who was Edward Herrmann, passed away. And so in the show, they do implement that he passed away. So she got a giant portrait of him. And obviously, you know, Lorelai and Rory are like, whoa, like, did you mean to do that type of thing? This is Lorelai speaking, but it didn't stop. She kept going and going for her mom. And I'm thinking, like, your dad passed away. Your mom is here. And obviously she's suffering because she loved him. And you can't stop attacking about a painting. And even you see like Rory kind of like, oh, you know, but it's nice. Like, she's trying to be civil and try to like tame things, but she just keeps like going at it, like telling her mom, you made a mistake. Like, are you sure you gave them the right measurements? They like, leave it alone. Leave it alone. She freaking, like, this is what she wants, or she says she wants. Who cares if she screwed up? Like, leave it alone. But it gets to that point where even Emily just like snaps and like, fine, I screwed up. I gave them the wrong measurements. Like, she goes off and it just hurts. And it's like, I don't remember it. I remember them like getting at each other, but not at a level where like somebody died and you're attacking. Like, that just seemed too low. And then they show the funeral scene and it's a flashback, and I expected the funeral scene to like hit me and just be like really sad because I really cared about this character, and I didn't. It was shot beautifully. It was just so pretty. The scene where they're riding to the funeral, each looking in a different direction, it just looked beautiful. And I know it's odd when they're there, but I think because no one spoke at the funeral, there was nothing for me to feel about. It was just kind of like they were just shooting like everybody like there and watching it happen, and you know, they're crying and it's sad, but that was it. And then they come back and this is like what happens, and this is what tells you why Emily and Lorelai have like a really bad relationship at this point. Because at the wake, Emily asked them to all tell a story, like a little happy anecdote about something that happened with Richard, and you see like Lorelai freak out and she's like, what? And she's trying to like get up and escape, and I start feeling really awkward, like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to leave? Why can't you, like, why aren't you gonna just say something? Gets to her, and it is the most awkward feeling watching this show. Like, you are watching somebody implode. She starts talking about like her doing hide and seek with her dad, and then her dad forgetting her and then just leaving, and I'm like, you did not. And then she talks about another occasion where like her dad walks in on her when she's 15, either having sex or about to or whatever, and then like they start going off, like he's yelling that she lost her virginity and whatever, and she's like, oh, I lost that a long time ago. And I'm like, you did not just say that at your father's wake. And you see Emily's face, and even I'm kind of like, I always had this like romantic vision that Christopher was the only one, and now I just portrayed her to be some like, you know, whore, you know, it just is what it is. She's like, you couldn't have said one nice thing. But I'm like, I remember your relationship wasn't that bad with him. Like, obviously, like, their parents were very, you know, privileged and kept her in a box and everything. But, oh, I did love Digger scene when Jason Style gets introduced. It was at the funeral. It was very quick. It was just like one little scene, but it was just so sweet, and it was just so perfect. I always loved that character. Like, if she were to marry anybody other than Luke, like, I felt like it should have been Jason. They just worked so well with each other, and he just got her humor and got her, and he was very good, and I love that scene. And like, she sits there and then she's like, I'm sorry, and I'm like, she just looks like a child that's been reprimanded, and I'm kind of like, aren't you old enough now? Like, aren't you like in your late 40s? You've had this relationship with your mom this whole time. Like, I felt like they should have grown by now. Like, why is this just repeating itself? I don't understand. I don't understand why they did it this way. And then they went into the kitchen, and the kitchen scene, that was like, oh my God. Every line that Emily had in this episode, in this show, was just so good. And then it just broke my heart because she just talks about how her friends have kids who love them, why can't her daughter love her? And it just like made you really feel like, even though everything that had happened in the past, she really just wanted her daughter to love her. And it just breaks your heart the way she talks about it. And then Lorelai drops a GD bomb, and I'm like, you have never cursed in this show, ever. And I know some people won't consider it a curse word. I do. I don't like it, and I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong for her character to be talking like that. And they say other things later on, and I'm just kind of like, your characters never did this before. Why are you all of a sudden like this different person? He just felt so weird. And then when she left, and I didn't realize it the first time I watched it, I did this second time. So when she left the house after that argument, she tells her mother, like, very seriously, like, full freaking circle. And at first I was like, what is happening? Because I was trying so hard to like catch up with everything. And the second time, now that I'm watching it, I'm going slower, I'm taking notes and everything. That makes sense, because the last time she left the house like so heated was when she told them that she was pregnant, and they pretty much kicked her out. And then now again, she's leaving the house because of this argument, and it's like, it's a whole circle again. And it's just sad. Like, it shouldn't have to be a circle. It shouldn't have to be, you know, a cycle of your life. And then more than halfway into the episode, probably like 40 minutes in or something, well, because part of the argument that they also had was that Emily tells Lorelai that Lorelai has always just thought of herself, and that, you know, everything's always about her. And she brought up the point that, you know, did she ever ask Luke if he ever wanted any more kids? Like, was that ever a thing? Did she ever ask him where he wanted to live? She just like never talked about it. And she made a really good point, because Lorelai didn't. Lorelai never talked to him about these things. So then 40 minutes in, and they start talking about a kid, and there was this part there where I'm like, this is where it should end. Oh, so they're not 45 minutes long. They're like, oh, they're like an hour. But I was like, this is where it should end, which is weird, because you would feel like it should be longer, because I always wanted longer episodes. It was just getting to be too long. There's just so much information that I felt like they wanted to pack into these episodes that I didn't need it, and it felt like it was running too long. So right when they started talking about like, oh, if they should have kids or not, is probably when they should have ended it. But next scene, best ever, Paris gets introduced. And I was always wondering what they were going to do with Paris, because she was getting her medical degree and a law degree, and I would always have these theories like, well, you know, she could be the lawyer for a medical company, whatever. She starts a fertility clinic. Perfect thing for her. Her character was just absolutely genius. She looked beautiful. She did a great job. She was Paris. Like, bam, like in like 2 seconds. Favorite lines of hers, because she's, she also has, it's a fertility clinic and surrogate, and that's the route that Lorelai and Luke are deciding to go, because he didn't feel like adopting. And so one of my favorite things that she says is like that she's not gonna give them the bargain basement breeders. It was so great. She's like, I'm gonna get you, you know, top of the line meat. Like, it was just funny. It was she has great lines. So funny. Then next scene, next character they had so many characters too that were introduced that was like, wow. But Alex Kingston got introduced, and I'm very biased towards her because I absolutely love her. She's my sweetie from Doctor Who, and she's a great character no matter what she does. She's very funny, and apparently she's this like troublemaker writer or something at this point. Like, you don't really know. She's just a very famous person who's, I think, like an alcoholic and just has a lot of like bipolar issues. And so you see that Rory is gonna write a biography about her, so she's gonna write a book, and I'm like, okay, so is this what you do? Like, what do you do? We still don't know, and we're almost an hour like into the episode. Then at the end of the day, she's talking about her day to someone. Logan comes out, so lo and behold, Logan. And so I'm like, okay, Logan, I can get on board with Logan, because the last time we saw them, you know, he proposed and she said no and whatever, but obviously they're disregarding that whole last season. Very happy to see Logan. I was never team anybody. I wasn't team Jess, team Logan, team Dean, nobody, because I felt like every boyfriend she had was the boyfriend she needed in that time of her life, and they all brought out different things in her. So I was like, okay, I can get back on board with team Logan, whatever, right? And so then she starts talking about, like, she goes and she's like, oh, am I gonna find anything in this room? And I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, you know, I wouldn't do that to you. And these next two lines are like one after another. He's like, never gonna, and I'm like, oh, like, does she think he's gonna cheat on her again or whatever? Like, what's gonna happen? And then all of a sudden, I would never leave any of those things around, because she asks if she's gonna find any girl things, and I'm like, what? Oh, and then at that point, I remember Paul. Rory has a boyfriend. Logan does too. Girlfriend. So she's the other woman. What? What? I am like blown away. I'm just like, Are you freaking kidding me? She was never the other woman. She didn't need to be. She was a smart person. Like, what the hell is going on here? I'm so confused, and I hate that they wrote her this way. Like, why would that be okay to write her this way? She was always like this strong woman, and all of a sudden I'm like, it just broke my heart to see this character all over the place, and I'm just kind of like, oh my god. You know, and I agree with Emily. She is a 32-year-old woman who is educated in Ivy League, had everything there for her. She decided to go her own route, which is what she wanted. They all backed her, and I'm like, you are nowhere. I don't understand. It was crazy. And then, I'm telling you, there's so much in just one episode. There's no way I can talk about 4 in 1. And I'm kind of like, is nobody's life working at this point? Like, what is happening here? And I'm just kind of like, ah. And then they go to Lane's house, and this is where you kind of like see what I was talking about at the beginning. She has a drum set in the living room. Zach is apparently very unhappy because, you know, they promoted him at work, and he doesn't love that. Obviously, he loves music. Lane loves music, but she's a mom to 2 kids. She's working at her mom's antique shop. I'm just kind of like, why? Why didn't they write them that they left, that they made it, that they were producing music? I get that they're not a great band because they had them play a song, and I was like, what the hell? I don't know. It was so sad. It was just so heartbreaking. And then Lorelai asks Rory like where she was, and she lied to her. So that's when you find out too that Rory's been lying about Logan. So who knows what else she's been lying about, and who knows to who. So like, she couldn't even tell her own mom. Just kept making me more and more disappointed in the characters. Lorelai goes to Emily's house to check up on her. You find Emily in jeans. What? The world is ending? I don't know. She's getting rid of everything in her life because she's reading a book about tidying up her life or her soul or whatever. She's decluttering, and I'm just kind of like, okay, calm down. But it's the only thing that kind of made sense in that situation. Like, she's going through grief, and this is the way she's grieving and the way she's dealing. And, you know, Lorelai helped her and kind of like convinced her that she probably should talk to someone. And that's where that episode ends. So overall, I talked about a lot of like negatives because that was a very disappointing first episode. But I do remember that I took it for what it was. I was like, it's fine. It's the first episode. They're setting up all these different characters. 3 more episodes, like 3 more hours or however long they are, a little bit over, whatever. So I'll be posting those videos hopefully soon when I can get to it. If you guys have been watching the original Gilmore Girls or you watched the revival, please let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you are new here, thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button on your way out, and thanks so much to all my new subscribers. I'm so happy that you're here and that you've joined us, and get ready for 3 more videos of ranting and raving about this. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I'm pretty sure you can tell that I wasn't that happy, and I'm pretty sure I said that at one point, but yes. We will get through this together. I'll see you guys later. Bye!